Good morning, every pony. This is Nightlife here, and I have something special for you today. For today, I will be reading not one, but two chapters of Fallout Equestria Project Horizons. Yes, and it's all thanks to a certain little commenter on my last post. This is for you. You know who you are. Chapter 5. Work. Step 1. Stay alive. Step 2. I don't know. Step 3. Profit! I saw that episode of South Park. It was funny. So, that's Hoofington. The hoof. Or the core, if you were talking about the inner city, where all the technological marvels were supposed to be. Glory had been filling us in all morning as we continued along the decayed road. But now, as it rose into an overpass, I had my first look at the city, and I didn't like it one bit. The core of Hoofington lay on an island surrounded by sluggishly flowing green fluids, swirling with noxious pink contaminants. With such limited space, the buildings within the core rose higher and higher until the tops disappeared into the cloud layer. Some buildings ended in broken-off spars, while others leaned precariously against their neighbors. Clouds of green clung to the black, crumbling spires, as if there were Pegasi in those clouds. Well, and if there were Pegasi in those clouds, well, good luck to 'em. The entire core was backlit by perpetual green glow as that pulsed and flickered like a heartbeat. I could barely make out the skeletal remains of a bridge several miles ahead of us, beside a large oval structure. On the sides of the river were the boroughs, the suburban sprawls that had once held the populace, far less resilient than the skyscrapers of Hoofington. They formed a thick belt of crumbling buildings and blocked roads. With the exception of the highway cutting towards the core, I couldn't see a way through it. The river flowed to the north on our left, the sprawl changing into more industrial-style buildings. To the right were more dead trees and raider territory. I could barely make out the top of a large building to our southwest. But what mattered to the three of us were the massive square buildings beyond the overpass. The massive square building, singular, sorry. The building was surrounded by a burn of scrapped carts, sky carriages, and other debris. 4 large turrets clung to the corners, sweeping their long barrels back and forth. Bright neon lights flickered in the rainy gray weather. Megamart, they said. And beneath it, in bright red paint was Finders Keepers. Unless I was mistaken, this was the headquarters of the Finders. We approached under the ominous gaze of the turrets. Each barrel seemed to match for Deus as we walked along the crumbling highways towards the gate. The half-dozen ponies, looking boredly at the small trickle of traffic, perked up at the sight of the three of us. "Entrance fee," a unicorn mare said as she looked over my barding. Her green eyes wide. Her green hide was mottled with the oldest brown and gray splotches. With the oddest brown and gray splotches. "We have to pay to get in?" P21 said skeptically. 5 caps ahead, 10 per Bessie. Or you can just become a finder for a discount price of 1,000 caps. You don't like it? Pick a direction and start walking. I've said that a number of times. Fallout. Exactly. She said matter-of-factly. One of the guards took a closer look and then broke into a grin. "Hey, Keystone, it's her, security mare." Oh, excuse me. The others took a note as well, and immediately started to chuckle and talk to each other. I could have found DJ Ponty and punted him clear over the core. Holy crap! They were saying it like I was super pony. Bottle Cap wouldn't mind if we give her a pass. Oh, crap. My browser froze. Oh, snap, oh, snap, oh, snap. 1 second. Okay, I am back, every pony. I had to save the file and shut down. Fricky thing nearly blue screened on me. Oh well. Let's get back to where we were. The camouflage mare looked at me coolly. So she killed those psychos at Pony Joe's. That's not so much, she said as she looked me over. I half wanted to agree with her, but I also didn't want to give up any caps just to get inside. Hey, I couldn't just let them hang out along the roads. Pretty sure you folks... Oh, excuse me. Pretty sure you folks need them, I said, as if it weren't anything at all. But from the looks, I'd scored a win. I grimaced, not happy with the roll, but if it'd save me some money... It looked like I'd managed to say the right thing. Go in. Make sure you talk to the manager. She was talking about you earlier, Keystone said as she stepped aside and let us in. For a weapon, fire a weapon and bring the wrath of gun down on you. I like gun. Nice job, security mare, P21 said once we were past. As we approached the front doors beneath the buzzing neon sign, I snorted, "Shut it." You can be sore about the reputation, or you can use it. Not both, P21 said casually. I stuck my tongue out at him, much to Glory's surprise. What, you never stick your tongue out at folks in the Enclave? I was surprised that the interior much more resembled a junkyard than anything else. Piles and pallets of scraps lay in carefully stacked rows. There were perhaps a dozen booths with vendors hawking their wares. I saw a drum-fed shotgun and promptly started salivating. Oh my gosh. Wait until you see the iron pony. Okay, where is it? Salivating. There was a crude mechanical clinic medical clinic set up over by the pharmacy, and their advertisement of radiation purging appealed to me more than the shotgun. A row of cots served as a hotel of sorts, and there was a kitchen. Overhead rested gun, a huge cannon mounted in a ceiling turret. I didn't even want to imagine. Okay, in my imagination, the sight of it firing was pretty cool, but I'd be happy putting off witnessing the reality. The thing looked like it fired I-beams. Holy shizen! Y'all know I-beams are those big girders they use in construction, right? Fuck! That is... Ouchie, that would hurt. There were also probably as many ponies here as there were in Stable 99. Whoa. They moved in small clumps, keeping a wary eye as they looked around. Some were obviously raiders, and I had to take a glance up at gun to remind myself to behave. Most appeared to be fairly benign, talking and laughing with each other while they swapped stories and goods. Two well-dressed fillies were escorted by a dozen bodyguards as they chattered on about slumming. Ugh. 6 ponies stomped in full power armor were given a wide berth as they seemed dead set on buying every grenade and missile they could get their hooves on. I felt a stab of guilt at the sight of 4 crusaders walking with a bag full of canned goods, though they weren't at least the ones that I knew. It's a regular size of the wasteland. I wonder if the enclavers are. I wonder where the enclavers are, P21 said, frowning as he looked at a bin full of grenades. Where do they find this stuff? All over, a lemon-furred, blue-maned mare answered brightly as she approached us. She had 3 bottle caps for her cutie mark. She wore a slightly off-colored navy blue vest with a name tag that read, "Hello, my name is Bottlecap, your Mega Mart manager." Hoofington had more military bases around it than any city in Equestria on account of the enemy constantly attempting to disrupt research and development. After the bombs fell, the ordnance just sat there in hidden caches and arsenals. We pay top caps for any and all war material. Her eyes looked at my security barding and she smiled. Ah, you're the mayor who cleared the Manhattan Highway. Okay, maybe there was a security discount or something. It was the only silver lining I could see. Yeah, it's not a big deal. It just sort of happened, I said with an awkward smile. She gave me a very calculating look that made me shift awkwardly. I mean, they were just raiders. Any pony would have killed them. I'm afraid you're mistaken, she said as she looked at me with a cool little smile. Any pony would have given them a wide berth and tried to extort my caravans. While they tried to extort my caravans. You were the one that shut them down. Perhaps not a big deal to you, but we've lost 6 caravans in as many months. Trade to Ten Pony and Gutterville was down to a trickle. She reached into her vest and took out a small plastic bag filled with caps. Oh, crap. Okay, here it is. Consider this as a thank you from the finders, she said as she tossed it to me with a smile. Wow, very generous, P-21 smiled, observed curiously. There was a clear look of suspicion on his face. Was I the only pony in our merry band that tried to look open? Well, it was a standing contract, and I'm fairly sure you'll spend it here, so I'll recover some of it from the vendors. And if it outbids you, well, more likely you'll bring in profitable goods in the future. Oh yeah, I like this pony's business sense. Wasteland economics. Fucking A, man. Bottlecap said, looking back at him with an even look as her explanation mollified him. I glanced at my pit book and saw the amount. 500 caps, not counting the miscellaneous junk we'd acquired. I glanced at P-21 and Glory, both of whom were looking around in surprise. I counted out two groups of 25 caps each and handed them to Glory and P-21. Why don't you get something to eat around and look around? Maybe you'll find some Enclave ponies, I suggested to Glory. No, we're not allowed here. This place is restricted, she said sullenly as she took the caps and hummed and turned to walk along the rows. P-21 gave me a curious look before he followed her. She's Enclave? Ballcap asked with a frown. I nodded hesitantly, and she immediately scowled. Be careful, then. You may not realize it. She may not realize it, but she's trouble. I doubt she's very dangerous, I replied, and got a dry look in return. Okay, Enclave a sore topic. I looked back at Bottlecap and gave her my surest smile. Sorry about P-21's suspicion. He's dealing with a lot of pain. It's been a rough few days for us. Just a few days. Imagine that, she replied dryly, arching her brow in a way that suggested I hadn't seen anything yet. Oh, by Celeste, you haven't. Yeah. Okay, try not to sound like a complete idiot. I was wondering if we could get some information. Information is a commodity just like bullets and armor, she answered back. Simple questions are easy enough, but if you're looking for something specific, then it'll be pricey. I winced at that. I have a data file, EC1101. I need to find out what it is. Data analysis? Sweet goddesses, you know how to jump to the top of the price list, she said, looking sadly pleased at this fact. I showed her the file, and she frowned at my pip buck. Ow. Lung spasm. Okay. Encrypted? I nodded, and she closed her blue eyes, nodding her head back and forth a little before she continued. 10,000 caps. She looked at me with an even sober expression. That includes our processing fee. Oh, that's quite a bit. Had her expression been anything but professional, had been anything but professional and serious, I would have laughed. 10,000? If you want a safe and reliable job, yes. I can think of cheaper sources, but they'd but they'd more likely shoot you and take the data for themselves. If you want to buy an answer, 10,000 caps, she said with a cons, conciliatory smile. Sorry, but that's the honest answer. Great. The get info quick plan just went swirling down the toilet. Now I need to work on a get rich quick plan. Oh, Blackjack, those never work out the way you think. Trust me, I know. All right. At least I have a thanks. At least I have a number to aim for. I said with a sigh. A 5-digit number. I gave my best nightmare mood make hair grin. Again, what the fuck does that mean? Alright. So, any suggestions on a way to get 10,000 caps? I assume you want this money relatively quickly, rather than over the course of a lifetime? Bottlecap asked with an arch of her brow and an approving smile. When I nodded, she looked me over. Well, competent help always demands a price, she said as she walked into a large bulletin board. Oh, she walked into a bulletin board. Portal. She walked to a large bulletin board that was covered with pieces of paper. Some were printed documents, but most were hoof-written. We don't just find things. We also handle ponies looking for special help. Sometimes it'll be retrieving goods, other times it's a contract work like clearing out a nest of dangerous wildlife or bounty hunting. Bounties? I asked as I looked over the papers. You mean killing ponies for bottle caps? Oh yes, that can be quite lucrative, provided you don't mind letting another pony decide if some pony should die. She said as she pointed to a selection with her hoof. Don't let the language fool you. They'll all be described as raiders, marauders, thieves, and killers, whether they are or not. Some are, some aren't. You decide. I needed 10,000 bottle caps, and in front of me I had a wall of opportunity. Thanks. I'll have to read these closely. Actually, P21 reading them would be a safer bet. P21. I looked back at the yellow mare. One last question. My friend was injured a few days ago. It's really hurting him, and he's going to need some substantial healing. More than just a standing healing potion. Magical surgeries are almost as expensive as data encryption and analysis. She regarded me for a long moment. However, west of here is the Fluttershy Medical Center. If there was something salvageable, it would be there. The upper floors haven't been thoroughly looted or explored. It's a difficult place, but shy of going to the Ministry of Peace hub in the core, I can't think of any place it would be available. Thanks, Bottlecap. Don't thank me, security. I'm just giving you a direction. You're the one that actually has to do the work. Good luck. Well, sometimes direction is all we need. Am I right? Alright, she said as she walked off, hailing two ponies encased head to hoof in metal armor with some impressive multi-barreled hardware strapped to their sides. Welcome, Steel Rangers. Missiles, grenades, or 5mm ammunition today. So they were the Steel Rangers. Well, it was good to know Davis wasn't the only one packing cannons. I stopped by the clinic where prices were scratched out on a busted slab of blackboard in chalk. Patchwork, 50 cents. Rad purge, 50 cents per hurt. 50 caps. Rad purge, 100 caps. Teeth pulled, 10 caps each. Worm and parasite removal, 25 caps. Ask about our stock of drugs. Certain to pick you right up. Specials, dash 75 caps. Applications in under a minute or half. Or amputations in under a minute or half off. The doctor, and I use the term lightly, was a scrawny brown unicorn with a bone saw for a kitty mark, and wearing a white coat covered in old yellow stains. I opted for the Patchwork and Purge special for 125 caps. I unbelted my barding and let the blue and yellow padded armor be lifted from me. Beneath it, my white hide was a roadmap of bruises, yellow discolorations, and angry red lines. The half-healed strips of medical bandages. My neck still ached from the shots in the school, and my cheek throbbed from Glory's welcome presents. I'm sorry, that's still funny. You shot me in the face! I'm sorry. Bonesaw levitated a pair of spectacles to his muzzle, and he blinked at my injuries. Well now, some pony's been busy. Rat burns, bean burns, bullet holes, lots of healing potion fixes. He shaded my eyes with a hoof and gave a grim nod. Interesting. Oh, he shaded my eyes with a hoof and gave a grim nod. Interesting. I've seen eyes like that before. Really? Maybe he could fix them. Maybe he could fix them. Yep, seen them all the time on ghouls, he said with a grim chuckle. Looks like security doesn't come easy. That's not my name, I said as my ears folded. I don't know why DJ Pone3 called me that, but it's nonsense. He looked at me coolly. Girl, I've been in the wasteland a while now, and outlived my children and grandchildren. Fuck, he must be a ghoul. If there's one thing more precious than clean water and bullets, it's the feeling that tomorrow you're less likely to die than today. Those raiders might be replaced by some other band, but yesterday we nearly had a party when we heard we could send caravans safe to Manhattan again. That might be nonsense to you, but it means the world to us. Oh my gosh, that's so awesome. Encouraged, annoyed, or embarrassed, so I settled on with shutting up and letting him work. P21 and Glory stopped by, the former sipping water through a straw, as the latter enjoyed a sparkle cola. Cola. Both of them seemed a bit taken aback at the sight of me and my hide. Not that I was too embarrassed about it. Clothing at 99 was a matter of duty, and I'd been fine trotting around all off duty with my mark just hanging out. Bonesaw gave me a cup of some chalky gloop, as he went to work on his magic. I had to admit that as scraggly as he was, Bonesaw knew his trade. By the time he finished, I felt like I just received treatment in 99's medical center. 10,000 caps? Glory gaped at the pair of us once my treatment was finished. The doc had given me something called Buck, and I had to admit I felt more energized than ever. Glory frowned. Is that a lot? That Sparkle Cola was 10 caps, so it's the equivalent of 1,000 colas. Holy crap! P21 said calmly. Glory winced. Yeah, I guess that is a lot. She thought for a moment. Well, there might be a cheaper option. I'm pretty sure if we can get to the Skyport, the Enclave might be able to crack the encryption for free. I'm sure they'd be happy to in exchange for returning me. She frowned, rubbing her mane as she rolled her eyes a little. I'm just a little unsure of how you get to Skyport from here, though. I think it's east-ish. That's a possibility. Maybe once I knew more about the Enclave than just two opinions. Morning Glory, I knew, would have happily helped. When I thought about Brawley's last broadcast, the clouds, and what happened to the volunteer corps, I had doubts about the rest of the Enclave. Then I remembered something. Glory, who is Rainbow Dash? Her eyes went round with shock, lips pressed close together, as if trying to keep from blurting something out. Finally, she stammered. Rainbow Dash? Oh my. Clearly, this wasn't the topic she expected to discuss. Well, She was the greatest heroine of the Pegasi during the war, but, well, she looked at me sadly. When the bombs fell, she wanted us to go down to the surface to help. P-21 looked at her in confusion. So what's wrong with that? Isn't that why you're here? She shook her head firmly. I want to help now, but she demanded the Pegasi fly down and help, despite the magical radiation of hundreds of balefire bombs poisoning the atmosphere. Tens of thousands of Pegasi would have died, or more. We'd already lost Cloudsdale, so the Pegasi Council refused. She left, and probably died of radiation poisoning. She said quietly, looking at her hooves. Some ponies really respect her for that, but I'm guessing you don't? I asked with a little smile. She sighed with a little frown, shaking her head. If she stayed and listened to the council, she could have shaped things for the better. The Enclave was established to protect the Pegasus people, and and they do, but she glanced around the Megamart. Well, maybe if Rainbow Dash hadn't left the Enclave, the Enclave would have started helping the surface sooner. Instead, she left, and it took 200 years of petitions and peaceful demonstrations for the Volunteer Corps to do what she wanted us to do right after the bombs blew. She finished drinking her sparkle cola. I had to admit, my mane was itching in curiosity. So, what's life in the clouds like? Again, clearly not a question she expected. It's different. That's all I can really say, she said softly. We're not supposed to discuss Thunderhead. It's all classified. Huh. Go figure. Secrets for her, suspicion from him. I could tell I had a long way to go on this whole making friends thing. P-21 still wasn't willing to carry a gun. He still saw me as embodying all the fucked up shit he'd endured in Stable 99. Time for a topic change. So, P-21, have you seen their little bulletin board? I'm pretty sure if we can knock out some jobs, sell any salvage we don't need, and get lucky, we might be able to get that 10,000 caps pretty quick. Quick, hopefully meaning that we wouldn't need months of searching. I really doubted we could evade Deus that long, particularly if that stupid DJ was giving my position away every other broadcast. I pulled out a couple of the slips of paper and slid them to him. I was hoping you could help me pick. I am sorry, baby boy. I'm yawning a lot. I don't know why. And his story is pretty good, so it's not that it's boring. Right. Get rich quick. That's a plan that always works out. He replied sardonically, but took the papers. Okay, kill so-and-so. No. 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 Reminds me of that family guy. No, no. No, no. Mr. Jack, no here. He looked at one oddly arching a brow. Okay, kill and defile. No, defile and kill? Ugh. What's wrong with these ponies? He then frowned as he smoothed out a rumpled note written on the back of a lottery ticket. This might be okay. Some mare wants us to collect rat scorpion venom glands. Oh, to make antitoxin? Glory asked curiously. Casserole, P-21 answered with a small roll of his eyes. Glory mouthed the words in bafflement as P-21 went on. Apparently they're delicious and nutritious. She's paying 25 caps each. 600 if we can bring her 20. Apparently there's a pit west of here that's full of them. What's a rat scorpion? I asked, glancing at Glory. I heard they're like scorpions, only bigger. Great. So what's a scorpion? I asked with a crooked smile. Clearly she wasn't used to facing my level of professional ignorance. A bug. Well, technically an arachnid, but I sought my hoof, cutting her off. Ah, bugs. I can kill bugs. Bring on the caps. No moral ambiguity there. What else you got? He sifted through more. Murder, not enough caps, murder. Wait, salvage. Oh, do my kitty meow. He lifted the yellowed printout. Iron-shod firearms R&D. The poster wants us to get some components from their mainframe. Bonus if we can extract any blueprints still within the system. Great, so we get to the mainframe, rip out the blueprints, and yank any spare parts. And get rich, I declared, getting winces from both of them. P-21 looked at Glory. Can you remove the parts? Well, I mean, I know the basics. Maybe? Glory said with a sheepish smile as she tapped her hooves together. Probably better than just yanking them out. That'd be worth 1,000 caps, plus 200 per blueprint. P-21 said calmly as he fished through some more. Huh, this is a recent one. Time sensitive. 2,000 caps to remove squatters and at a Fluttershy medical center. My ears immediately perked. Remove? As in kill and mutilate? Glory looked at me with some concern. What? You heard those contracts. The mutilation is always implied. It just says remove. Doesn't say they're raiders like the rest of them, so it might be legit. Ugh, 1 second, every pony. Okay, I am back, every pony. I am sorry for the delay, although to you it will be less than a second. But my brother and his friend and my other brother had me driving them all over town. One moment. Okay, let's go. Where was I? Oh yeah, here it was. Seems legit. Well, we should give it a shot then. After that, we can poke around. We might find something valuable. I tried to keep my voice as calm as possible, but P-21 still looked suspicious. Okay, he usually looks suspicious. Honestly, what was his deal? You round up a guy for summary execution, and they never trust you again. Well, if we found something to help his bum leg, maybe he'd start thinking of me as a friend rather than stable reminder. Okay, so we stomped some bugs, yank out some wires, and roust some squatters. How hard can that be? I asked with a grin at the other two. P-21 covered his face with his hoof while Glory seemed to have some doubts. What? She just had to say it, P-21 murmured. I just had to say it, I shouted over the chittering, snapping horde that was advancing at me. The drum-fed combat shotgun I picked up for 100 caps roared over and over again as I retreated around the gravel pit. Wait, 100 caps? Damn, girl, that's a good deal. In the end game, there's at least 1,000 caps. Oh well. The drum-fed combat shotgun I'd picked up for 100 caps roared over and over again as I retreated around the gravel pit, a half-dozen of the rad scorpions clawing at me with their pincers and stabbing with their venom-tipped stingers. I couldn't miss at this range, but I also wasn't having the best of luck piercing their hides. Sats had finally failed me too. The targeting and time manipulation spell might have slowed things down, but it didn't stop time. By the time it finished, 2 of the rat scorpions were dead, but the remainder had put new holes in my foreleg with their razor-sharp pincers. I was going to have to visit Bonesaw again after this was all done. Fortunately, their barbed tails hadn't penetrated my barding yet. The gravel pit was filled with rusted machinery that made Morning Glory's job infinitely harder. She had to swoop under and around the girders, busted conveyors, and decaying equipment to try and follow me as I blasted ammo like crazy. She proved much more adept with the beam pistol fighting insects than ponies. I had no clue how she could aim the boxy contraption clenched in her teeth, but the soft crack of each shot was mixed with the throaty boom of my shotgun. Ooh, that sounds pretty cool. This is getting out of hoof, P-21 called from the lip of the pit, watching through a pair of binoculars. While I really wanted him to get a gun and join the fight, I was glad for any help now. More are coming out of that cave, Blackjack, he yelled as he gestured to the far wall of the gravel pit. Glory! I yelled, leaping aside as one got close enough to jab me with its stinger. It was with some satisfaction that my return shot took its tail off. Now, if it just didn't have claws, pincers, or razor sharp mandibles. Flash 'em! The small Pegasus blushed furiously. The small Pegasus blushed furiously, but the term was appropriate enough. The rat scorpions didn't seem to know how to attack a flying enemy. Meanwhile, her beam pistol rained down more shots to keep them off the ground. Did much more munchable pony. The flashing shots kept them disorganized, and I took some satisfaction when her shots killed one of the smaller varieties. I tripped over some rusty equipment and flailed as I struggled to stay at my hooves. One of the rat scorpions pounced, and I rolled onto my back while kicking with all four hooves to try and keep excuse me. To try and keep all of its pointy bits out of me. Out of myself, sorry. Fortunately, I didn't need my hooves to fire my gun. I floated the barrel right against the scorpion's head. A single shot transformed the head into a spray of green globules and shattered chitin. Excuse me. If I could just keep them off me, this could be easy. They didn't seem to realize the shotgun was the real threat, not me. I kicked the corpse off, and the remaining rat scorpions shied aside long enough for me to get my hooves under me. I turned and ran, feeling nicks to my flanks as I took a healing potion, telekinetically unloading the spent drum and levitating a fresh one from my pack, smacking it in place, feeling the magic take away some of the pain from my injuries. I turned once more and laid down a rain of buckshot that eroded the tenacious arachnids. Finally, the last one dropped, and I was able to go help Glory. I was quite glad she'd managed to keep them off. She managed to keep them off me as I ran in towards the confused, milling masses. They were already worn down by the time I got there, too. Half a dozen shots finished the rest of the chittering vermin. Okay, that wasn't so bad, I said with a laugh as Glory landed beside me. That was terrible, she countered. I decided not to tell her what I'd seen inside Pony Joe's. I'd take fighting bugs over smelling that any day. Why did the ground just move? Look out! I screamed, seeing flashbacks of ghouls exploding from heaps of bones as I knocked Glory aside. From the middle of the pit... Excuse me again. It's weird. From the middle of the pit, the largest rat scorpion I'd ever seen... From the middle of the pit heaved the largest rat scorpion I'd ever seen. It was as large as 3 ponies combined, with pinchers large enough to snap my limbs and head like a daisy. Well, pictures of daisies. I always thought they were flimsy-looking flowers, but why was I thinking about flowers anyway? Its tail struck with such force that I could imagine it going right through me. Run away! We didn't have anything that could harm something like this. The problem was, for me at least, that the only way out was behind the giant rat scorpion. Worse, that thing was fast. I expected something so big to move ponderously, but it skittered after us with tenacity and swiftness. The only thing we had going for us was its size and the wreckage in the base of the gravel pit. A few shots revealed that I was right that the shotgun and beam pistol did nothing to it. Slugs. Still, I had one ace in my pocket. I fished out a grenade with the blue band. Eat this! I shot it and telekinetically shot it right in at the beast's maw. Eating was the thing's forte, and I pulled the stem right before it disappeared in the rat scorpion's mouth. 5 seconds. 10. Why was Thor looking at me like that? What? That was a shock grenade! She yelled as the giant scorpion scurried after towards us. A what? It only works on robots! She screamed at me. Have you ever done that in-game? Expecting a pulse grenade to do something to someone else? The heck? Who makes a bomb that only works on robots? I screamed back at her. That's the stupidest thing I've ever heard. That's the stupidest thing I've ever... Look out! I yelled as its tail shot out through the wreckage and nearly took Glory's head off. I kept looking for some opportunity to get past it and run out of the gravel pit, but it kept moving left and right. I could only fall back as it moved towards me. As it moved me towards the cave. Oh, hell no. It's hurting us. What? It's pushing us back towards that hole. And once in there, I seriously doubted I'd last long. Let me fly you out, Morning Glory yelled as the giant rat scorpion was tangled in some rusty cabling from a steam crane. There wasn't enough words to express my skepticism, but there was also more enough words to stress how much I really didn't want to be in that pit. If you think you can, I said as it scurried towards us. I felt her bite the back of my barding behind my neck, and felt her hooves hook into my straps. Her wings beat furiously, and I was stunned as we slowly rose up into the air. Rising, good. Slowly, not so good. The giant rat scorpion jumped up on the side of the steam crane and snapped its tail out. Morning Glory cried out as a barbed tip bit deeply into her flank, and gravity returned with a vengeance. Had I fallen to the ground, I probably would have broken something vital. Oh, crap. Instead, I landed on the roof of a huge steel crane. I looked back to see Morning Glory fluttering down to the floor of the gravel pit. The rat scorpion turned and scuttled towards her. I saw a Teofili torn in two before my eyes. No! I bellowed and ejected the drum and slammed in a fresh one. I had only a dozen or so slugs. They'd do a job, or it wouldn't matter. I jumped from the roof of the crane and landed right in the middle of the giant monster's back, crouching low on the middle of its heavy back. I triggered Sats. As I pressed the barrel against its tail, the slug tore into the meaty appendage with a spray of sour yellow flesh and greenish-black ichor. A third shot severed the tail entirely, and more importantly, made me its first priority. No, you did not just do that, bitch. I jammed my front hooves into a groove in its armored carapace, feeling my limbs squeezed almost to breaking as it bucked and squirmed wildly. Its claws weren't quite agile enough to simply pluck me off, so instead it swept the claws back and forth over its back to knock me loose. I ducked my head down, gritting my teeth as I waited for Sats to recharge, and enough to chance a shot. I locked in a blast, and that caught the rat scorpion at the base of the pincer and took it completely off. When it finally flipped over on its back to scrape me off, I kicked free and rolled in the loose gravel, screaming as I rose to my hooves and charged at the monster. I wanted every remaining slug to matter as I closed into point-blank range and opened fire. It attempted to shield itself with a claw, and I had just enough charge and Sats to target that limb as well. The shotgun's roar stretched out as the black pincer spun off in a slow arc. Die, die, die! I screamed again and again as I pulverized its head with my 3 remaining slugs. Finally, I reversed the spent weapon and smashed the butt against whatever gloop might have consisted of a brain stem. I didn't stop until it did. In fact, I might not have stopped even if P-21 hadn't. Even then, if P-21 hadn't yelled to snap me out of it. Ow. 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 Morning Glory cried as she limped over to us. No offense, but I am really starting to dislike the surface. Join the club, I remarked. Oh, that's right, they're from underground. I remarked, then saw their looks. I splashed almost headfirst in. I was splashed almost head to hoof in red scorpion bits. Ew. P21 gave Glory one of our healing potions, but even though the hole in her flank above her cutie mark, above her sunrise cutie mark closed, she still didn't look so good. Are you okay? I asked her. Yeah, sure. Just a little lightheaded. I hope it's blood loss. I hope it's just blood loss, she said as she took a seat. When we get back, I'm going to find you some decent armor, I promised. That uniform you've got is worse than useless. I had no idea what constituted a rat scorpion poison gland, but apparently P21 did. He and Glory went from scorpion to scorpion collecting them. It looked like we'd be making that bonus. Meanwhile, I headed over to the cave. More of a pit in the wall, really. Dozens of bones and other debris filled the cavity. Mostly earth and unicorn ponies, but there were 2 picked over Pegasi too. I took the time to sift through with my telekinesis, and was rewarded with an assortment of ammunition, 2 energy cartridges, a hoof-sized drum a hoof-sized energy drum called a micro magic cell, and a workable bolt-action rifle. I also found a Crusader's cape. There wasn't much left of it, but I still saw the rearing white filly of a stained blue patch. Carefully, I tore it from the scrap. Part of me wanted to wear it. Even though my mother was still alive, I doubted I would see her again. But then I thought about Scoodle and Boing. I thought about asking P21, but I couldn't keep using him as my ethical barometer. I owed the Crusaders. Carefully, I took the patch and slipped it into a pocket. Blackjack! I was really starting to hate people shouting my name. I ran back out and saw P21 kneeling over the prone gray Pegasus. Damn it! She wasn't fine. She's poisoned, isn't she? I demanded as I ran to them. I wanted to hug her and kick her. Sorry, she said weakly. I said I hoped it was just blood loss. I hissed softly through my teeth. I couldn't shoot it, kick it, or beat poison, I couldn't shoot, kick, or beat poison out of her. That would be horrible if you could. What can we do? Because we had to do something. If we just sit here and watch her die, then I would completely lose it. I could synthesize an antidote, 1 poison gland, 1 healing potion, but I need lab equipment. Morning Glory said, her breathing labored. I looked up to the west at the large brown building that my pitbuck identified as the destination for our next job. P21, R&D means research and something, right? Development, yeah, he said as he followed my look. Let's go, I said as I loaded a fresh drum into my shotgun. Morning Glory needed a lab, and I would find one. We weren't going to lose another pony on my watch. Huh. You go, Blackjack. Iron-shod firearms. I could have worked for these ponies. I really could have. Just looking at the faded pictures of firearms sitting over a desk was enough to make my insides moist. What the heck? Especially the sight of the clip-fed IF-88 Iron Pony combat shotgun. Now that was a glorious-looking weapon. Still, I had no time to admire their works. Ew, cockroach, ew, ew. Crap. Get off me! What the fuck, cockroach? Sorry. My house has roaches. Not rad roaches, thankfully. That would suck. I had no time to admire their works when it seemed like I want that gun! I shouted, my buckshot peppering the head of a century pony as I advanced on a grand, unofficial tour of the premise. I want a lab first, but after that, I want an IF-88 Iron Pony. Can I have one? I'm sure you do, P21 said. I'm sure you do, P21 said as carrying Morning Glory on his back, watching as my second shot destroyed the sentry. Ask your mother. Oh crap, my page fade. Page is frozen. Okay, and we're back. She never let me have one. It was crazy. I was crazy. Every second I had to keep moving or I'd look at Morning Glory. I had to joke because if I thought about Morning Glory, without waiting for stats to recharge, I hopped right over the blasted sentry and into the next room. A sweep with my gun and a check with my EFS, and I was moving on to the next hallway. Jumping through the next door, I heard an ominous beep under hoof. I glanced down just in time to hit the override button on the mine with my magic. That sent prickles up and down my spine. I'd help no pony if I got us blown up. Levitating the mine into my gear, I moved through the hallway with more care, finding 2 more mines hidden under debris. Debris. The 2 were so close together I detonated them with a shot just to move faster. Passing bathrooms, I moved into a large production area. Greetings, zebra scum! Time to get wiped! A metallic voice cheered with gusto. With gusto! As a multi-limbed, hovering robot lowered down and sprayed fire across the doorway. Wipe this! I shouted, the moment's levity leaving me feeling raw as I moved under the bot, firing into the levitation talisman built into the base. With the sizzle of sparks, it collapsed behind me, and I finished it off with some more bullets through a central processing matrix. I cannot talk today. The labs might be on the 2nd floor, P-21 suggested as he looked up the stairs with their narrow catwalks. What kind of pony designed this place? Still, we'd only seen offices and this manufacturing space on the 1st floor. I'll take her, I said as I carefully transferred her from his back to my own. She felt like she was burning up. That was good. I'd take feverish and alive to cold and stiff. Using my telekinesis to hold her in place, I ran up the steps as fast as I dared. For once, something went our way. Passing through the door, we found ourselves surrounded by lab equipment and spent shells. Lots of spent shells. I almost dropped Glory as my hooves skidded beneath me. There were reloading benches, work tables, and lab equipment. Some of it was smashed, but that's the stuff you need, right, Glory? Glory? I gave her a telekinetic slap. Smack! What did that even sound like? Glory! She stirred and looked around in a daze, muttering softly, No, I don't want to do this anymore. Her pupils were unfocused as she stared around. No more weapons, please. Glory! Antidote! You said you could make one. I gave her a little shake. Antidote? Why? Wouldn't make any sense. I'd need an antibiotic. She muttered weakly. I gave her another slap and she realized, and she relaxed a little, her eyes focusing on me. Stop slapping my face. You shot my face. Tell us how to make an antidote, I said as P-21 checked the lab equipment and burners. Poison gland. Mixed with type A or B healing potion. Simmer. Filter the extract. Inject. She murmured in a daze. Please tell me you understood that, I asked P-21. I think so, he said as he got to work. He dug through his bags and extracted a used needle, sterilizing the tip on a burner flame. Did you get the impression she's more than just a good-intentioned idealist? I don't care. She helped us. We're going to help her, I said sharply as he worked. This was not the time to bring this up with me. That's why I love you, Blackjack. But enough with your suspicion, I yelled as I rounded on him. Right now, she needs our help. I know you don't trust any pony, but we are going to do this. Clearly, my outburst shocked him. I took a deep breath inside. Look, I know she's Enclave. I know she says she wants to help. And I also know I'd love to see what the sun is really like. But letting her die isn't an option for me. He looked over at her and sighed. I wasn't going to let her die. I just... Why do you trust her? You trust every pony. Roger, Bottlecap, even the Crusaders. Morning Glory, you even trust me when I've told you that I want to shoot you. I would too. But that's just the kind of pony I am. I looked at him as he worked to mix the glands and the healing potion. I don't know. I can't help it. I just accept people until they try to kill me or hurt some pony else. Maybe it was an effect of 99. There was no real chance for guilt out here, for guile out here. Every pony knew every pony, or there was no real chance for guile there. Every pony knew every pony, and even deep secrets were common enough knowledge. The closest you came to deception was bluffing at poker. With the exception of the overmare, I probably knew the dirt and flaws of 100 different mares in 99. I just believe that ponies are more likely to help than screw each other over. He chuckled softly. That's just what the wasteland needs. An optimist. I sighed and rolled my eyes. P21. I mean it, he said seriously, surprising me. He injected me to fill the syringe with... since my magic... He instructed me to fill the syringe, since my magic was a touch more precise than his mouth and hooves. Once filled, we injected it into her leg. A minute later, she shuddered and her breathing deepened. You frustrate me, annoy me, and sometimes scare me half to death. But you also impress me terribly from time to time. So, does this mean next time I talk to Watcher, I can tell him we're friends? I asked with a smile. I laughed and shook my... skipped the line. Closer to friends, he said as he held his hooves a millimeter apart. About this much. Oh, I love that so much. Ow, my tooth. Okay, that's not good. Oh well. I laughed and shook my head. Okay, good to know I'm making progress. I sighed as I finally returned to actually paying attention to my surroundings. There were a number of red marks on my EFS. I'm going to clear the lab and see if I can find the mainframe. Right. Don't try and take parts out of it, he said, half-joking, with a half-joking, half-serious smile. I proceeded further into the lab, kicking brass and shotgun holes with each step. I had to admit, I was glad no pony had made it up here before us. There was a veritable cornucopia of ammunition up here. I passed by ammo crates with handgun, shotgun, and rifle ammunition. Several of them had markings I'd never seen before. Orange, green, red, orange, green, blue, and black bands. I bet I know what the red does. Or it's a red is for incendiary. Blue is for sparks. Green is for sludge. Black is for explosive. And orange is for... No, wait, orange is explosive. I don't know what black is. And here I had a number of sentry bots to try them out on. Red proved to be some sort of incendiary that seemed rather futile. An orange shotgun shell, on the other hoof, exploded on contact like a grenade. Perhaps not so large, but still impressive. Green just splattered some sort of goo all over the metal. Then I fired a blue shell at the turret. There was an electric flash, and the turret just stopped. I looked skeptically at the disabled device, and then at my gun. At first, I'd been impressed. Then a minute later, the damn thing powered back on, and I had to disable it the old-fashioned way, with buckshot. Oh, Black is fletched. Sorry. Black simply fired a bunch of tiny sharpened nails that bounced right off the armor of the few remaining sentries. Oh, that hurt on flesh. I got to one door and immediately froze. I could feel the tingle in my skin even before I could hear the click of my pip-buck on my foreleg. Whatever was behind that locked door, I could live with the mystery. Finally, I cleared the last turrets and discovered an office. Dr. Trottingheimer. Trottingheimer? Oi, my name is Trottingheimer. I am German, da? Wait, that's Russian. I am German, ja? Alright. Was written on a tarnished plaque on the front. Inside was a safe and terminal. I'd leave them to the more reliable hooves of P-21. A unicorn skeleton sat in a chair, an unusual pistol on the floor next to it. You know what unusual means, right? It means special. As I looked, however, I noticed the bones appeared wrong, like the skull was made of wax and left too long. Was made of wax left too long near a heating duct. The hole in the skull didn't look blown out; it instead appeared melted. I reached out with my magic and carefully lifted the gun. I'd never seen its like before, but something about it made me squirm. I put it in my duffel bag. More ominously, perhaps, my cookbook identified it simply Trottingheimer's Folly. Then I looked at the wall and at the wall the exit wound pointed at. Like most buildings in the wasteland, iron-shod firearms R&D was ridiculously over-engineered. I might not know the first thing about construction, but there were some walls with some walls with 3 inches of armored plates squeezed inside a foot of reinforced concrete. It was made to withstand missiles, so when I walked to the hole in the wall, I could stare through the glassy hole that passed through the armored office and the exterior wall of the room beyond that. I glanced at Trondheimer's corpse, then back at the hole. What the fuck kind of bullet had done that? All I know is, fuck. It was an hour later when I swapped shifts with P-21 so he could work on his lock-picking magic. He passed me a ratty old magazine with half the pages falling out. Apparently, it was some sort of cookbook, though it had some pretty odd articles like plastic explosives and you, and how did Pinkie Pie foil the prancing bomb? The prance bombing. 3 theories. Patriot's Cookbook. Oh, I want that magazine. Gloria's breathing had slowed and deepened. It was a few minutes after P-21 left that she finally opened her eyes. I'm alive? She asked quietly. Does this look like the afterlife? I said with a snort. Yeah. We flipped the bottle cap and it landed carried up, so we had to save you. I said with a flippant grin. You flipped a joke, I explained. Don't enclavers joke? I asked, arching a brow. It's just enclave ponies, Blackjack, not enclavers. Morning Glory looked away. And no, I don't suppose that we do. She said as she slowly sat up, holding her head with her hooves. Ow. Ow. Headache? Stupid question. I fished in my bag for a sparkle cola and levitated it to her, deftly flipping off the top and pocketing it. She smirked as she held it in her hooves and took a drink. So, you said some things while you were out that made P-21 curious. 1 second. No, it froze. Okay. Instant evasive look. Not good. Worse, she looked upset. I did? Something about no more weapons. I mean, I just found it ironic given that the nearest lab we found was the munitions laboratory. But P-21 was a little more curious, I said, hoping to coax her into opening up a little. She closed her eyes, looking away. I don't want to talk about it. That's fine. Just fine. P-21 wants to shoot me for reminding him of home, but he doesn't want to talk about it. She did something with weapons in the Enclave, and she doesn't want to talk about it. I'd give my left leg for some point without a dark and troubled past. It's just, if you ever do, I know that I'd be glad to hear it, I said as I rose, leaving her to her sparkle cola. I didn't have a choice, she said to my back softly. Excuse me? I looked back at her with a politely curious expression. She stared down at the fizzy carrot-flavored water. I didn't have a choice. In the Enclave, if you have aptitude, then you're encouraged to accept training and an assigned job in your field. She sighed and closed her eyes. My aptitudes were in technical engineering and medical procedures. I never worked on anything critical, but there was always talk. Talk about how something could be weaponized. Talk about it. Talk about how it can be used for the Enclave's security. She looked back at the bottle. I didn't like it. So you couldn't just quit? Gee, looks like Stable 99 wasn't so unique after all. I could, but it would have been complicated. I could tell she wasn't going to elaborate past that. So I transferred to the volunteer corps, got my 2 weeks training, and came down here. I gave a crooked smile. You know, someday I'd really love to hear about life in the Enclave. Compare notes and all that. I can't. Please. It's not that I don't want to, she said softly as she stared at her hooves. It's that I can't. If they ever found out I broke protocol. I have family. Her lavender eyes begged me to understand. They'd be investigated. There'd be inquiries. My sister might lose her job. My father would certainly be disgraced. I can't talk about it. Not about Thunderhead or what I did there. Nothing. She covered her face in her hooves. It's not that I don't want to tell you. I can't, she said as she gave a snotty sniff. I felt that if I pushed right now, I could make her crack. My main it's just right to get some solid answers. Instead, I sighed and brushed my magic along her purple mane. Don't worry about it. I get it. And I'll tell P21 to drop it as well. So it looked like I'd be putting up with secrets for a bit longer. I rose and stretched. Finish that off, and then do me a favor. Take 3 or 4 of those glands and mix up a few more doses of antidote. I'd like to avoid doing this again. She smiled and nodded. Sure, we wouldn't get the full bounty, but I'd live with that. We might not get, but I'd live with that. We might not live without it. I'm going to find P21. Find out if he needs any help. I had no idea how I was going to help him crack terminals or locks, but hey, it sounded better than saying, I'm useless unless there's something to shoot. No, you're not. Oh well. Leaving her to compose herself, I headed back to the doctor's office. While I walked, I levitated out the pistol. I'd never seen its like, and the design was absolutely bizarre. I couldn't find a place for a clip, so it couldn't be an automatic as I had assumed. The caliber was huge, almost as big as my horn. That's not very big. It seemed as if the pistol had been armored. It loaded from a breech like a break-action shotgun, but clearly it had been engineered for precision. Well, worst come to worst, I could hit someone with it. It had a high value, more than 2,000 caps, but I couldn't imagine it would fetch that price if I didn't find bullets for it. So, any luck? I asked as I sat on the desk, crossing my rear hooves as I perched upright, getting a distinct look from P21. I noticed a little plaque on the desk. I have become Death, Destroyer of Worlds. Creepy. I'm on attempt 61. He replied and sighed with a soft sigh. Returning his gaze to the terminal. After a moment, he suddenly brightened up, and apparently 62 was a charm. There was a click, and the safe in the corner opened up. There are some journal entries here. Want to read them while I see what we have? I probably shouldn't. It'll just depress me. I said, but oh no, frozen. 1 second. Okay, and we're back. I said, but did I mention I hate being bored? I really couldn't help myself as I rocked forward on my hooves and trotted around the desk to read the journal entries off the terminal. Oh man, what the heck is my yawning for? Oh well. Entry 1. I am writing these entries in the event that I am detained or have my memory modified by the MOM. My move from Horizon Labs to Ironshod Firearms is jarring, to say the least, but vital to my safety. GB is doing everything he can to protect myself and SS from the director. I fear it may not be enough. B was quite thankful to get to get an intellect such as mine on his R&D staff, but I've noticed considerable resentment of my addition from the old team. That doesn't matter. Though the new work may be far below my abilities, it is at least enough to provide for myself and my family. And considering the current circumstances, it is probably better for me to keep my genius to myself for a while anyway. Entry 2. TB came by trying to convince me to work with the new director. Odious mule. He has no loyalties to anybody but himself. I can't imagine why she married him. It's clear that he feels quite superior for his betrayal, and kept going on about the winning side. PP sent more MOM goons to search my files, but they did not find these records. I hope I will be safe, if only for the moment. GB is fighting for us. GB is fighting for us all. In case no one noticed, PP is Pinkie Pie. Entry 3. GB came to me last night. I have no idea how he bypassed security. I'd never seen him so disturbed. For once, GB appeared quite at a loss, and he was truly desperate for my expertise. After PH and PS, haven't I done enough? No. For his faith in believing in me when no one would, I owe him this. He swore it would never be used on PL or PC. He said the most peculiar thing: there are greater threats. I am uneasy, but I will do this for him. Fortunately, I've grown quite adept at getting at keep. What do you want? Sorry about that. Fortunately, I've grown quite adept at keeping secrets from my loved ones. This would only worry them, and the less they know, the safer they'll be from Mom. Entry 4. I feared that my security may have been compromised. Another captious visit by the director again. He may be quite amiable, but I cannot allow him to sway me. He promised me a transfer to the MAS if I agreed to work with him. It was tempting, but I destined to work with the greatest force known to ponykind. Not to make bullets. As glorious as it would be to work on our TS again, that's Twilight Sparkle, I had to decline. The director was quite put out. Entry 5. GB has provided the metal, flux, and cores necessary. As I am working for a firearms manufacturer, I craft the devices in the shape of bullets and guns. It is true enough to their function. I warned GB of the risks, but he was quite dismissive. I am not certain of him anymore. Is his agitation paranoia or legitimate alarm? I am crafting another dragon killer bullet like... Am I crafting another dragon killer bullet like the ones that slew BM? I'm just going to say Bad Mama or something like that. I do not know any longer. Four Leaf warns me to spend more time at home. She says the girls miss me terribly. I hope that, after this, things will finally settle down. We are undone. GB has been arrested. Entry 6. We are undone. GB has been arrested. My lab was raided by MOM officials. I don't think I've ever seen PP so happy. She questioned me personally. I told her precisely what I had done. It was not my fault that she lacked the intellect to understand me. I followed her interrogation spells and sent her mind-digging lackeys on a tour of the Trottingham countryside. They'd seized all my work, but they missed the bullet number 9 still in the fabricator. It was quite pleasing to watch them gape at my art like stupid mules. Still, I am feeling quite ill from the flux. I should go home, but there's still so much more to do. Even with GB gone, there are others he trusted, and I know how important he thought this was, even if I don't know why. Entry 7. There's something going on in the city. I thought it was just another attack when the sirens went off, but this was something different, something far more substantial. For a moment I heard the most horrible scream. After that, the entire building went into security lockdown. I can't leave my own office for fear of being vaporized by our own security guards. It's no line. There is no line out of my office. I suspected something quite terrible has happened. I fear the illness from flux contaminating is progressing. From flux contamination is progressing. Oh no. Ow. I'm sorry, Everpony. Lung spasm again. They're getting a bit more frequent. I'll have it checked out tomorrow. There is no more point in waiting. No pony is coming. I'm not going to wait for days for flux contamination or dehydration to claim me. The GBP and one BBP. Ironic. So much work and sacrifice for these past weeks. In these past weeks, so much concern for the vitally important need GB never bothered to tell me the details of, and this will be its first and only use. I decided to rename it Trottinghammer's Folly. I am sorry, Fourleaf. You always said I was an unlucky pony. I don't know about unlucky, but I feel that I have always been incredibly stupid. If anyone should ever discover this hidden log, please know that I always endeavored to serve Equestria with diligence, dignity, and honor. If by some chance my family should read this, know that Daddy is sorry. Farewell. Okay. Well, at least I was right about one thing. It had depressed me. Also confused me out of my horn. I looked at the hole blasted through the wall, and the floated folly in front of me. No shell casing remained in the breach. What do you think did this? I couldn't think of anything that could have caused that kind of damage. With bullets that ignited, exploded, shocked, perforated, or poisoned, what do you think could do more than that? No idea, P21 said as he put gold coins in my duffel bag. I put the gold coins in my duffel bag. There were tons of finance reports and other papers in the safe, as well as a strange black case. It wasn't any longer than my hoof, but skinny. As I touched it, there was a soft pop, and it opened. He immediately looked a little agitated. Wait, how'd you open that? I didn't find a lock or a seam or anything. I furrowed my brow and smiled at him. P21? I shoot things. You're asking the wrong pony. I said as I flipped open the lid and looked at the empty interior. Well, that's anticlimactic, I muttered as I looked at the orange velvet-lined space, showing it to him. He looked equally baffled. After carefully going through the lab and the downstairs offices, I found myself sitting on more ammunition than I had encountered yet. I even had a sizable collection of specialty rounds, but nothing marked BBP. Despite my reservations, P21 opened the locked doors and discovered a room filled with dozens of containers. One labeled Biomagical Flux 13 had broken open and oozed strange rainbow-colored fluids that glowed softly. My pip-buck clicked ominously, and I closed the door again. Even if there was anything valuable in there, some other, more radiation-proof pony could benefit. We found the iron-shod firearms mainframe in the basement. Of course, all I really did was sit there while P21 entered the doctor's password and downloaded the contents onto my pip-buck. EC 101 could have company, or could have some company. I looked down at the musty poster that read, "Iron-shod firearms. How do you like them apples?" and chuckled at the joke. Then, with nothing in particular to do, I get it. The grenades are shaped like apples. I didn't get that the first few times I read it, even in the first Fallout, Equestria. Then, with nothing in particular to do, my mind wandered back to the journal entries from Trottinghammer's terminal. Just what had been going on in this place before the bombs fell. Hey, Glory, who was running this place during the war? Well, probably the Ministry of Wartime Technology. I looked at her blankly, and she backed with unease. The Ministry of Wartime Technology, one of the 6 ministries of Equestria. I smiled and cocked my head to the side. Didn't they have a school in your stable? She blurted. Does Blackjack strike you as very studious? P-21 asked with a thin smile. Glory sighed. Well, in a nutshell, the ministries ran the war effort. There were 6 of them, and the Ministry of Wartime Technology was in charge of Equestria's private companies, particularly the defense contractors. The ministry mare of the MWT, the pony who ran it, was Applejack. Glory studied, Glory supplied as she peered into the guts of the machine. I don't really know don't know much about her personally, I'm afraid. There was apparently plenty of friction between her and the ponies under her. Might want to get some lube. Get it? Under her. She was a cow pony. A cowgirl. Or cow mare. That sounds weird, cow mare. Oh well. Her half of Hoofington was probably connected to the MWT in some way. Ironshot, Red Bronco, Flash Industries, Aegis Security, Boom Incorporated. That just sounds awesome. I want to have a company called Boom Incorporated and have it make like dolls or something. They were all developing weapons for the war effort. All in Hoofington? I asked as I found a desk and sat my haunches on it, facing her and earning an amusingly baffled look. Hoofington was the war research effort. I understand it used to be a college town, but when the war picked up, the old town was leveled in a surprise zebra raid early on. The survivors swore to rebuild, and they did with a vengeance. Hoofington existed to invent things to kill zebras, and they were very good at it. Carefully, she deactivated the power and started to remove some internal components with care. Hoofington was a strange city, though. All the ministries were involved here, even the Ministry of Awesome, since Hoofington housed the Shadow Bolts. Still, according to the official records, Hoofington was almost like a country in and of itself. Lots of secrets. Manhattan might have been bigger, Cadillac the capital, Philadelphia the industrial nexus, but Hoofington was the city of the future. Small wonder zebras were never wasted a chance to attack it. No other city in Equestria was targeted more. And then everything blew up. I commented softly, along with the future. Footnote: level up. New perk: shotgun surgeon. When using shotguns, regardless of type of ammunition used, you ignore an additional 10 points of a target's damage threshold. I cannot talk today. Thanks to KCAT for creating FOE Fallout Equestria. Props to Hines for helping me make this halfway decent. Those were the author's notes, by the way. I am sorry about this every pony. It has been literally, say 10 hours since I started. And I will not be able to keep my promise of making 2 of these uploads today. Although the obligatory Vinyl and Octavia's university days. And maybe even a one-shot. But for now, please forgive me. This has been Nightlife, and I just might go to bed in about an hour. Nightlife out.